You are here to learn about reducing leakage from your affiliate program and also how to maximize conversion. So before we get started, I'll tell you a little bit about who I am and why am I standing up here in front of all of you today. So my name is Paul Wallerich. I'm the Group VP of the oneNetwork affiliate network. That is the network that powers the affiliate program for Digital River clients, and I'm not sure if you're familiar with Digital River, but we are basically a e-commerce outsourcer that primarily works with software publishers. We work with about 40,000 software publishers around the globe, and some of those clients are Semantic, Sonic Roxio, Trend, etc. If you buy a piece of software on the internet today, there's a very good chance that you're buying it from a Digital River hosted site. Me specifically, well, actually, before I go on, one of the things that makes oneNetwork a little bit different as well is that we're the merchant of record for all affiliate transactions. So the beauty of that is, of course, is that before the merchant gets their money, you get your money. We never have to wait for an escrow or anything like that to be filled. So a little bit about myself, background in direct marketing. I've worked for a number of actually catalog marketers until 4 years ago. I worked for the likes of Fingerhut, who you may know, Montgomery Ward, and before joining Digital River, I actually worked for a company that built membership and loyalty programs for Spiegel and Victoria's Secret. So membership marketing, direct marketing is my background. The last 4 years, I've been working at Digital River, helping them in a number of different areas, one of those including the oneNetwork affiliate program. So what are the things we're going to cover today? We're going to talk about leakage and minimizing leakage, and I know everybody out there knows that it is a concern. I'm driving traffic for whatever, maybe a cost per sale campaign or a cost per action campaign or whatever it might be, and for some reason I'm not getting money compensated for that traffic. So that's one of the things that we're going to talk about today. What is leakage? Where does it occur, and then what can I do to fix it, really, at the end of the day? And the next piece is maximizing conversion rates. So we're going to talk a little bit about what consumers and affiliates want, what are they looking for from a shopping experience. We're also going to talk about testing methodologies. So how many people out here know what A/B testing is? Can I see a show of hands? And how many people actually do testing? Fantastic. That's something that I think everybody needs to know, and I have some tools and some concepts that I want to share today. And I know people hear statistics and they go, oh, right? I mean, it's a big yawn, but we're going to try and make it as fun as possible. I have some good hard examples I can walk you through, and I actually have a tool that I had one of my stats guys, so the guys that are much smarter than me, I have to take off my shoes to count to 20, so I made this thing as simple as possible. And then, like I said here, some live examples. The one part that I really want to concentrate on, though, is statistical significance, because I think everybody knows what that is. Basically, when you do testing, you want to understand that the results that you're seeing are really repeatable, that if I test it again, I'm going to see the exact same thing again. I can't tell you how many conferences that I've been to like this, where people have come up here and shown results and said, I've done this landing page, which was my control, and I tested this one, and this one did 50 sales, and this one did 60 sales, and it was the winner. Well, I can tell you that's bullshit, right? So we'll just call it the way we see it. You have to use a statistical sampler to ensure that the results that you're seeing aren't leading you down the wrong path. So that's very important. We're going to go through that today as well. So hopefully everybody finds that educational. So what is leakage? I asked a few affiliates and one merchant what they thought leakage was, and you can read them up here quickly. Example from, I don't know if this thing works, I think it does, Colin McDougall and Joe, who doesn't want his last name to be used, Gordon Penza, who was actually a merchant of ours on one of our commerce platforms, and then myself. And as you can see, there's a number of different pieces to what they consider leakage, anywhere from landing pages to competing ads, anything along those lines. But my definition is actually pretty simple, and that's basically anything that gets in between the affiliate driving traffic and the money getting in your hands. Because I think there are a number of different pieces when you think about leakage that you really don't think about, that you need to be aware of. And at the end of the day, what I'm hoping to demonstrate today is that there are lots of different pieces, and that you really need, as an affiliate, need to ask the hard questions to the merchants who you're promoting. Some of the examples that I have here today. So again, just a show of hands, how many people really consider leakage when they pick up a merchant's program? So I see a couple hands. 3, okay. Well, I'm hoping after this that all of you, the next program that you pick up, or for programs that you've already picked up, you ask the questions that I'm going to show here. And there's lots of other questions to ask as well, but I think this is a good start. So obviously the first part that I think everybody's familiar with in terms of tracking is cookie deletion. So here's an example actually or some research from Jupiter Media back in, let me see exactly, I think it's 2005, that shows about how often people delete cookies on their machines. Now, obviously, people actively deleting cookies is one way that you're not going to track a sale. There's obviously parasitic affiliates that may hijack your traffic. There's obviously spyware products. Again, our network works with a number of different software publishers that have spyware products or registry cleaners, et cetera. All of those could affect your commissions. So this is just one area or one example that may cause you to lose commissions. Now, it's very difficult if it's cookies to control some of those, right? So you have to actually work with a legitimate network that is working hard to eliminate parasitic affiliates, right? That's one of the things that I would look for. The other thing that I would look for is just like the tracking mechanism. We actually use at oneNetwork a combination of cookie as well as API tracking. API tracking is a little more robust than cookie tracking. So those are the types of questions that you should be asking about when you pick up a merchant program. So I wanted to throw out numbers here as well to give an impact of what leakage could mean to an affiliate in a perfect storm, right? How much traffic could I potentially be losing? So here, for example, I would say, and what I've read is that roughly 10% of traffic is leaked through cookie deletion or some sort of tracking interception. One of the ways in the software industry, how many people, does anybody here promote software through trials? Okay, yeah, we had a few people in the back there. That's great. That's great. One of the things that we have, and there's actually another company that does this as well, is if you're doing software via trials, let's say you're doing spyware products via trials, and you download a spyware product through an affiliate link, well, what's the first thing that spyware product is going to do? Well, it's going to probably erase the cookie, right? And you're not going to get paid that commission. Strong possibility. Well, one of the things that we've done and other companies have done is actually allowed software publishers and creators of software to put tracking code within the application. And here's just an example of the way it would work. But basically what happens is that when somebody downloads the product through your affiliate site, it actually puts your affiliate ID into all the buy links within the application. So if somebody buys within the app and the cookie's blown away, doesn't matter. Your ID is within the application. And the beauty of this is if you have a software publisher that works with, let's say, 50 or 100 or 1,000 different affiliates, they don't have to do individual bills. They do it once, and then the system dynamically bills out the wraps for the individual affiliates. Other places where leakage occurs. How many people promote programs that have phone numbers on the pages that they drive? I'm sure quite a few, right? Well, there's some reasons, obviously, why people want phone numbers, and we're going to get into this a little bit, why people want phone numbers on their sites. So one of the examples that we have here is Oriental Trading, and they have a phone number on every page of their site. So I clicked around and clicked around and clicked around. I could not find a page that did not have a phone number on their site. Well, I mean, they have somewhat of a complicated process, much like anonymizer.com. You can see on their enterprise right here, which might be a little tough to read, enterprise-type products or high AOV products obviously are of huge value to the merchant. They're also tough to sell usually. You're not going to have enough information or be able to close the sale on the website. So they put a phone number on to help close sales. So again, a little bit more about why phone numbers might be good on a website. So the first is they instill confidence with the consumer, especially nowadays with all the phishing scams that are out there. There are individuals that, for whatever reason, do not want to put their information in a form. I can tell you, my mother's actually a good example, right? And it makes no sense. She'll go to a website and she will not want to put her credit card number in an electronic form, but she will call someone on the phone and give it to someone who can write it down on a piece of paper and then run off with it and post it somewhere. Makes no sense, but that's the way she is. That's the way she thinks. So instilling confidence is a big reason why merchants put phone numbers on. Another reason is to increase overall conversion. So again, very important for individuals who want to research online and then buy offline, or just in general prefer buying through a telemarketing center. So ways to track phone IDs. So if you have a program that has a phone ID, I would definitely find out, are they tracking those sales that come from their website and paying affiliates commissions for that? So some of the ways that you can do that, and again, I've worked in catalog industry for years and years and years, so I know how call centers and catalog centers work, catalog companies work, but creating some sort of referral or code for the affiliate, that could be a coupon code or whatever it might be, like down here that I have an example. One of the best ways that I would prefer if I was running an affiliate program for a cataloger is to build the affiliate ID into the SKU. So catalogers, of course, do testing all the time, and they have a concept of what's called a suffix, which is basically how they do list testing. And they actually, when you print a catalog, a lot of times you'll see it, there's like 4 digits at the end of the product SKU. Well, that tells the cataloger something. There's no reason that they can't dynamically put that information, the affiliate ID, on the product ID that's being purchased and report back on it. So that's probably one of the best ways that I like to track phone orders from an online traffic perspective to offline call center. And then a phone extension, like a dynamic phone extension, might be a way to do it as well. So again, just thoughts and ideas to think about when you're promoting a merchant's program. So what does phone leakage potentially mean? I looked at lots of stats. I think roughly 5% is where what I've seen in terms of industry averages of individual with phone numbers on their site, the percentage of traffic that's leaking off and going through a call center. Competing advertisements. So actually foreclosure.com is here. I don't know if they're in the room, so I didn't want to call them out at all. But you can see that they have Google AdSense on a landing page, right? And if you look closely, which is probably a little bit tough to do, they're all foreclosure ads. Well, what do you think the chances are that somebody's going to click on that? Probably pretty high, right? Now this actually, and the reason I brought these up is I actually have a friend who's an affiliate for foreclosure.com who hounded them and hounded them and hounded them to get Google AdSense off their landing pages, and actually on some of them they did. So definitely a big area of leakage. You're driving traffic to this site, lots of different places where that traffic could go, and you need to make sure that those holes are plugged. Another one, even from an email standpoint, I mean, obviously everybody knows Gmail. Right now, at least based on our list that we own internally, about 1% of the names that we have are from the Gmail domain. But you can see that in the semantic offer, they're serving up competitive ads in the email. So if you're an email marketer and you're driving this traffic for semantic, well, somebody might be opening it and not clicking on your link, but clicking on a competitive link in the AdSense. Again, just an area of potential leakage. So what I did was I went back and looked, and we run a number of contextual advertising campaigns. I just pulled 5 randomly and looked at what the click-through rate was. And they varied, obviously, depending on how focused the ads were and locale, et cetera, but anywhere from a low of 3 basis points all the way up to a little over 5% from a click-through rate. So if you go back and look at that foreclosure.com with those very targeted Google AdSense ads, you can imagine what that click rate through is and what kind of leakage you might be seeing from that. So some of the things that I think you should ask for from merchants, and this is something that I live by. I actually manage campaigns for Semantic, Trend, Computer Associates, et cetera. Ask for banners and advertisements to be removed. And if they won't remove them entirely, at least they should remove them for affiliate traffic. Ask for your own landing pages. I frequently build landing pages for all of my top affiliates, not only for testing purposes, but also helping them build their microsites. I'll minimize any sideways navigation. AdSense or other banners, et cetera, are just examples of sideways navigation that might leak traffic off your site. We've done a lot of testing on the shopping cart and eliminating shopping cart sideways navigation or just sideways navigation in general is definitely going to help your conversion rates. You want people, you drove people there for a reason. You want them to convert into whatever action that was intended. And then, of course, test driving sales directly to the cart. So if you have the opportunity to drive specific traffic right to a cart or right, closer to the final point, if it's some sort of form, definitely test that as well. And we think those are great ways to eliminate leakage. So what's the potential impact on that? Well, again, it could be 1.5 points. It's really going to depend on the program, the campaign. You may not have any sideways navigation or any leakage points in your merchant's campaign. Great. But they could have some sort of competing banner that could be removing 5%, 10% of the traffic that you're driving to that site. That's a problem. And you should call them on it and say, look, I'm driving traffic to your site. You're profiting based on that traffic. I'm not going to promote your program. Multiple carts and payment processors. So here's actually an example where me, Digital River, and oneNetwork are responsible for a source of leakage. So for example, Circuit City has 2 merchant processors on their site. They have their own cart and store, but they also host a store with us where we power this entire catalog. And I'm not sure, to be quite honest with you, if we have their tag, their affiliate tag, on our shopping cart. But there's another example of potential leakage. Obviously there's other payment options, et cetera, that could be potential leakage points. PayPal, potentially, if they accepted PayPal, could be a potential leakage point. Check orders, pre-orders, et cetera. Anything that ends up on a non-typical order confirmation page is a potential source of leakage, and you need to understand, are those sales, is that traffic being tracked in the affiliate system? Here's another example of multiple stores, and I have some examples further in here to show you the impact, because I think at the end of the day, the numbers are what really tell the story. So Anonymizer has 3 stores really in one. They have a consumer, a government, and an enterprise store. So they have different product categories that they're promoting. Their affiliate program, though, is primarily centered around, as you would imagine, consumer products. But if you drive traffic and it converts on the government center or on the enterprise site, you want to get paid for that, and you need to understand how that's being tracked. The other piece, especially, and this is very true in physical goods, computers, et cetera, there's always this notion of channel conflict. I'm not sure if that rings any bells with anybody, but historically software and physical products were sold through big retailers, Best Buy, et cetera, right? And they didn't have a direct presence. Well, now a lot of them are going direct, but in order to ease the pain, they're promoting their channel partners on their site. Well, you think about the type of leakage that might be here, right? I mean, they have an affiliate program, driving traffic, and a consumer comes to the site, and they look at all these different options. Well, what do you think the chance is that Amazon has a tag for Anonymizer on their cart? Probably not very good, right? Anybody that clicks on these links, and they're all trusted names, right? If you were going to buy, you'd look at this page and go, yeah, okay, it makes sense. I'll click on it, now I'm off. Now I'm making the purchase of their product on somebody else's page or a site and not getting paid for it. Internationalization is obviously a big piece of that, and I have another slide, the next slide as well, with multiple stores. So for example, here's Palm that has a US store, they have a Canadian store and a Euro store. I can tell you, and I'll show you examples of this in just a bit, if you were driving traffic to just the US store and only getting paid on US traffic and US conversion, you're missing a lot of money. Guarantee it. That these other stores are driving a lot of traffic and capturing a lot of sales. Here's another example, just an extension of that. So Bose.com, they have their US affiliate program with Performix and their EMEA program with Trade Doubler. Right? My guess is, I don't know this, my guess is that they have separated their stores in terms of tracking. US store, Performix, everything else, or an EMEA, is going through Trade Doubler. So understanding, am I getting paid for that leakage that goes to some other site, other country, et cetera? Am I getting paid for that traffic? So being the good Samaritan that I am, I went back and looked at my programs. And I said, all right, for one of my clients, I launched a program in multiple countries, probably 10 or 12, I think now, and then I looked at traffic that I wasn't tracking for my affiliates in preparation for this event. And you can see over the 5 weeks, about 1.5 points. I did not have a program in these countries, but 1.5% to 2% of the sales were not being tracked for affiliates because they were going to these other countries that I wasn't tracking. So I fixed that. But that just gives you an example of potential leakage. All those sales, no affiliate was getting paid on. But here I think is the most telling example. So here's an affiliate that has driven over 3,000 orders for one of my campaigns so far, and he has only done U.S. consumer advertising. That's it. U.S. consumer advertising. And you can see that 11.4% of his traffic went outside the U.S. and was tracked outside the U.S., and a whopping 20.5% of his traffic that was driven for consumers, they were purchasing on the SMB or the enterprise store. That is, I think, amazing. That literally, if we hadn't tagged those sites, he could be missing 30% of his sales. Right? Those are the types of questions that you, as an affiliate, need to ask, need to understand. Where am I getting paid? Because if there are leakage points on the site, either in payment currencies or other stores or other affiliate programs or whatever it might be, there's an opportunity for leakage and for you not to get paid. So I put that down as 3%. I think depending on the program, it could be actually enormous. It could be much greater than 3%. But I thought 3% I think is a realistic number in terms of the leakage through multiple stores. And the last one, which I think probably nobody in the audience really thinks about, I think about it a lot because I work with 40,000 publishers all over the world, Russia, China, Europe, all over. And that is paying in different currencies. So your merchant program that you work with has a currency that they do their accounting in, right? Probably US dollars. So let's say your affiliate wants to get paid in pounds. Okay, great. You're going to have to pay for that conversion anyway, but what the heck? Let me get the money converted by the merchant and they can pay me in pounds. Well, what conversion rate are they using? That's a question that you need to know. How often do they update it? Are they adding to that conversion rate to make money, right? Are they adding a point or 2 or 3 points to that conversion rate to make money? This, I think, and maybe you're okay with that because at the end of the day, you're going to have to pay to get the money converted, but it's one of those places where you'd never even really think about it. My check, right? Who would think about there's leakage in my check? There's a potential for it, and you need to be aware of it. So I put that as 2% in terms of the potential for leakage. So just in summary, and I think these are relatively low estimates of, again, the perfect storm. Not all of them apply. Some do, some don't, depending on the merchant that you work with. But if you add that up, that's well over 20% of traffic that you're driving that you may not be getting paid for. And just asking simple questions and understanding points of leakage in the process will help you close those down. And it's found money. It's free money. It's basically increasing the conversion rate on traffic that you're already driving. So the next piece that we want to talk about, and we're about 25 minutes into this, is maximizing conversion rates. So we're going to talk a little bit about what consumers and affiliates want, testing methodologies. I know everybody's yawning. Statistical significance of tests, right? That's not very sexy. And then live examples of what's worked for us in terms of testing landing pages. So what do consumers want? Where here is another Jupyter example. What do consumers want? A couple of things that stuck out to me on here was ability to navigate by product, simple site design, few items on a page. But one of the things that you can see that they really didn't want, which I thought was as telling, was the links to products and service information outside of site. So consumers to convert, they were really not interested in necessarily those links to other bits of information off of the site. If you can drive them to a page that contains the necessary information for them to convert, and you've tested it, and you'll be fine. So this is actually some information from Sean Collins that just goes through the conversion rate of affiliate programs in the U.S. And you can see that I shouldn't say the majority, less than 1%, 30% of programs convert at less than 1%. And you can see how those programs break down. What I thought was most pitiful on here, though, is that 12% don't know how their program converts. That, quite frankly, is, I mean, if you were running a business, that would be definitely not acceptable. And Linda Woods just did a survey not too long ago of affiliates as well, and she found that what do affiliates want? Well, they want higher converting product or higher converting merchant campaigns. 27% listed that as the number one thing that they want in a merchant's campaign. So now what we want to do, one other thing. So one of the other things that you can do, how many affiliates here buy branded keywords for their merchants? A few? Well, I thought this was just, as I was doing some research for this presentation, an interesting tidbit as well that just shows the conversion data for branded keywords versus non-branded keywords. So if you're looking to increase your conversion rate, definitely ask your merchants if you can buy branded keywords. At Digital River, oneNetwork, we manage pay-per-click campaigns as well as affiliate campaigns, and we are huge advocates of what we call the wallpaper strategy. So Semantic is one of our clients, and you can see that on this page, which is from google.co.uk, for the search term Norton, there is the corporate campaign that we run, but we also allow our affiliates to populate the different spaces, and we find it to be very effective in increasing overall sales for the Semantic program. One of the things that we look at when we get questioned on this all the time, but the reality is, if you're not there, your competitors are going to be there, buying up those keywords and taking that space. We are huge advocates, and there's not, I dare not say this, there's probably one or two, but of all the campaigns that we run, almost every one allows branded keyword buys for the affiliates. Okay, now we're going to get into the stats, so everybody take their caffeine. So Wallerich's principles of direct marketing, first, let the stats drive your decisions. If you're not doing testing, I didn't see everybody raise their hand in here, you should be doing testing if you can. Push your merchants to do testing. At the end of the day, you're only going to help them out. They should be partners with you to increase conversion rates. This is a big one. Know what success looks like before you start. If you don't know what the end game looks like, don't even start testing. You have to know before you start what success looks like. What am I trying to achieve? What lever am I trying to pull before you start testing? The other one, and I can go into this a little bit more later, but be cognizant of what I call latent testing effects. So those are effects, other variables that may change over time that you weren't cognizant of or didn't think about, and I got some examples of that further in. And the last piece is testing costs you money, which I know there's people out there saying that's the stupidest thing I've ever heard in my life. But testing costs you money, but I can't tell you how many people don't treat it that way. They don't treat testing as if it's costing them money. And that works on both sides. If you have a winner and you're doing testing, let's say, for example, and you have your control and your test, and your test is winning, and you know statistically that's winning, and you don't implement it right away, you're losing money because that should be your full scale. Conversely, if you have a loser and you know it's a loser and you're still running it and putting more traffic through it, that's costing you more money. That's why I say testing costs you money and you need to treat it that way. So common testing mistakes. Inability to read potential or all potential variables in the test. Might it be click-through, conversion, AOV, or returns? Testing multiple variables at one time. When you're doing a test, it's important that you test one variable at a time. That way you can isolate the impact of what you're testing. Seems straightforward enough. And the last is insufficient test volume to make an informed decision. It takes volume or a spread of results to ensure that the test that you're doing is a legitimate test and one that you should full scale or roll out. So here's an example of a test that is ill-fated. So let's say you have a traffic source, and you put 50% of the volume through landing page 1, and now you're testing landing page 2. That's one variable test. And then in this stream, you pull out a cross-sell, right? That's two variables that you're testing in one stream, something that you don't want to do. Right? You want to test one variable at a time. Another thing where people, I think, fall down in terms of testing is they do what I call longitudinal or on-off testing. So they'll take traffic and they'll point it to one landing page, and they'll read those results, and then they'll take all their other traffic, they'll just stop and then point it to another landing page. That's not testing. That is a recipe for disaster, because you don't know what happened. You haven't controlled for the type of traffic that you're bringing to your site. You could have just dropped an email that changes the traffic dynamics. It could be times of the day, whatever it might be. That could change the results. That could give you an extraneous result. You know, they could say this landing page works the best, but in reality it didn't, because there are other variables that were changing. So here's just an example, of course. Change one variable at a time, get rid of the cross-sell, make sure that you can read your test results and the impact of each individual piece. So just a quick, to keep us moving here, a quick example. So here is a simple example of, let's say I drove 500 clicks, drove 15 sales, 20 sales here. So that's a 33% lift, not 30. And we're asking ourselves, is that statistically significant, right? I mean, what would the audience say? Would you roll that out? Yeah, right. You wouldn't roll that out. So I've built, and what I'm going to share a little bit later, is just a simple Excel model that guys much smarter than me built. But that's just a simple tool that you can put in and test different conversion rates and responses, and then based on the confidence level, whether that test is significant or not. And this tool simply tells us that's not a valid test. You need more traffic. So you got a 30% lift, great. You might be onto something, but you can't really tell that based on the volume of traffic that you've driven. So here's another example. So we've increased the traffic tenfold. Now it's only a 10% lift. Do we think that that's legitimate? Do we think that that's a valid test? Yeah, potentially. Well, what does the tool tell us? So it says at an 80% significant level, that test is repeatable and one that I would roll out. I can tell you that anything under 90% is something that I would not feel comfortable full scaling. That's this general rule of thumb that I apply in any testing that I do. So I have this example a little bit later, this tool that I threw it on an FTP server that you can go out, pick up, and use it yourself to do simple testing. It's a really simple tool, and it'll tell you whether or not the tests that you've done are true, legitimate, statistically valid results. The other piece is know what success looks like. So before testing, do these things. What lever am I trying to pull on? Is it going to be click-through rate? Is it going to be AOV? Is it going to be cross-sell attachment? Is it going to be a percentage of people filling out a form? Whatever it might be. Define your testing metric. So that could be ROI, let's say, as an example. That's usually the one that I use. It's the one that's most important to me in business, is return on my investment. And then the other piece that I always do, and I think is a very good discipline, is run what's called the gains needed P&L. So again, that's part of knowing what success looks like before you start testing. And I have some examples of that we'll walk through here. So here is a quick example of a gains needed. So let's say, for example, hypothetically, I had a control offer that was a $50 price point, no discount, through, I was doing a banner buy. And I did a third of my traffic, and I did a 10% off offer, and I did a $10 off offer. Now, in this example, I just said, all right, the lever that I'm trying to achieve or trying to move is my click-through rate. And what I would do is I would run just a simple, what I call gains needed, based on the metric that I want to track, which is ROI. And this would tell me that, hey, my click-through rate has to go up 11% on this example for it to be a winner based on what I've defined, and that is an ROI percentage. Or if I do a 10% off offer, I have to increase my click-through rate by 25% in order for it to be a winner based on the metric that I've defined, which is ROI. Pretty straightforward. The other thing that I like to do, and again, this kind of, I'm a bit of a propeller head, is to do data tables. I'm not sure, are people familiar with data tables in Excel? I know you didn't come to Affiliate Summit to learn Excel, but do people know data tables? They're fantastic. You can run multiple scenarios in 2 seconds. And basically what this is I said, all right, I wanted to affect in that previous example click-through rate. But I know that my conversion rate with a coupon offer or something like that is also going to be adjusted. So what I did was I built this table that said, all right, again, what does success look like in different scenarios? Because I know my click-through rate is going to go up, but my conversion rate might also go up. So where is that line, where is that combination of results that says, yeah, this is a winner, Paul, you need to roll that one out? And again, obviously I have to run it through my statistical modeling. Latent testing effects. Now, this is probably something that you're thinking, what the heck is he talking about? So latent testing effects are tests that, or effects that come after the fact. So let's say, for example, you are trying to test raising your price point, as a merchant, let's just say, just use that as an example. And you look at it and the initial results say, hey, that's a good thing to do. I have a lower conversion rate, but it looks like it's great. I'm making money. All of a sudden, people get the products in their hand and they go, hey, this is not a good product for $100, so I'm going to start returning it. So 30, 60 days later, what you think was a good test or a good idea proves out not to be. There's an example of a latent testing effect. Other examples, deferred billing or pre-orders, anything that involves trials, tests that could potentially increase returns. And from a merchant standpoint, where I've always gotten caught is customer service expense. I always get caught with that one. But here's an example of a test that we actually ran, and you can see that this red line here, how after 3 weeks, it was basically losing. And we shut off the test, and we continued to track it. And what happened was, because we're always learning too, I'm definitely, I get surprised all the time as well. Never know what's going to work and what's not going to work. You can see that this was a trial example where the trials kept coming in. They kept converting and converting and converting. And that test actually ended up being the winner. So at first glance, when I first read it, it said, no, this is a push to a loser. And the way it turned out was, it was, actually this was not a firm statistically significant winner, but was definitely a winner just on a head-to-head contest. So now just to summarize before we get into some examples, we've got about 20 minutes left here. Again, testing costs you money, but not testing costs you opportunity. So if you're not testing or you don't have the ability to test, I would definitely try and break down that roadblock and figure out how I can do some testing to increase my conversion rate. And that doesn't matter any type of marketer that you are, you can do testing to increase metrics that are important to you. Might it be click-through rate or conversion or average order value or whatever it might be. Don't take the status quo, because I can tell you 95% of the time the status quo can be beaten. You just have to continue to test and find the right metric. Make sure that your tests are readable and actionable. We covered that. Track your tests daily. Again, testing costs you money. If you find a winner and you know it's a winner, roll it out immediately. You find a loser and you know it's a loser, kill it immediately, because this is costing you money the longer you run that, or opportunity. And then run scenarios before you start. Again, it's very important to understand the metrics that you're trying to measure and push on, and what success looks like before you start testing. So I wanted to give some quick examples of landing page tests that we've done that have worked fairly well, and some not so well, granted. And also push these, or show you how we push these through the statistical modeling, right? I'm going to walk the walk and talk the talk here, of what we just went through. So here's an example for ACD, which is a client of mine, where we have what we call our champion. We use what we call a champion challenger approach. Our champion, or our control landing page, was this landing page. We did 2 tests. We did this blue page, where we promoted the buy button and the price more prevalently, and we also got rid of all of the international purchasing options. And then this white option, it looks very similar to this, but with some distinct differences in terms of bullet points and color schemes, etc. And anybody want to guess which one did better?
White. Blue.
This one? A few blue? Well, the answer was, and it's a little tough to tell, but the blue actually did better. And the white was actually not so good. So it didn't do very well at all. So again, I got these results. I tested them. I'm going to put them through my modeling now to say, all right, Paul, I got a winner, but does it really measure up? So here's the the blue landing page. Oops, hold on here. I think I may have went by those once. Did I go too far? Hold on here a second. You may have to take my word on this. Something may have gotten goofed up. Oh, no, that's right. Sorry, hold on one second. A temporary mind blank. So you can see the blue one, actually, when I ran it through the statistical analysis, it showed that even though it was a winner, it wasn't statistically significant. But that white page, that really sucked, that one was definitely a dog, right? There was no doubt about it. That thing was a loser. Okay, I can live with that. So I didn't really get a winner out of this, but at least statistically speaking, I didn't. Even though I got a lift on that blue page, it didn't meet the criteria, the threshold to say, yes, that is a winner. But I definitely know that that white one, not good. So went back to the drawing table again. So there were some questions on that blue landing page. So I tested again, more traffic. This was a winner last time from just a head-to-head, but not a statistically significant winner. So I tested it again with more traffic. And then I took this white format again, and I totally redid it using more copy, other bullet points, and taking a few of the better parts of this landing page. And the other thing that you can see on this landing page as well that I wanted to point out is you can see there's like almost no sideways navigation from this. So you see AC/DC 8, but that's it. There's no sideways navigation to go to other products. And this is what we found, at least, works best. The testing results this time, I got significantly higher conversion rates on actually both of the pages. So I got two winners. That's a good problem to have. So now running those through, you can see that at a 90% level, that blue now was a winner. That was a statistically significant difference. And the white one was a winner as well. So again, that just demonstrates kind of the methodology of creating landing pages, whatever it might be, in terms of testing variables, running the tests, tracking the results, and then at the end of the day, taking those results and pushing them through some sort of determiner or model that says, yeah, that makes sense, that is a statistically valid sample, and you should be rolling that out. Does that make sense for everyone? I know stats aren't really exciting. So here's the last example before we have some Q&A, and that is a landing page example for Uniblue, who is another client of ours. I don't think he's in the room here, but with their champion landing page, where they didn't really promote price. In our test here, we did price, features, benefits, etc. And then one of the things that we found, and I think Rosalind mentioned this as well, what works is testimonials, which they had over here, but we also put down the fact that they were the Microsoft pick of the week. Yeah, that's good endorsement. And here is what the results were. So you can see we had over a 50% increase in conversion rate on that second page. Now, is Gordon here? I don't think he is. There he is. Now, if I may tell Gordon that he maybe put too much traffic through here, though, right? Because he put 900 orders or 600 orders through the control. But, at the end of the day, he made the right decision with that volume and that conversion rate to say, yes, that was a statistically valid test that I did, and that is my new winner. And now I'm sure he's building off of that as well, Gordon, and testing other landing pages to improve even more. So you can see the difference that made, 50% increase in conversion rate. That makes a difference. So the last thing that I wanted to show was, well, where does this tool exist? So I just put it out on this FTP server, so anybody can go out and pick it up. And it's just a simple Excel document that'll help you understand testing results. So you can play with it. Again, it was developed by people much smarter than me, but it works. It's simple, and it'll give you an indication of whether or not the tests that you're doing are statistically valid tests. And the last part of the presentation is just Q&A. So I'm not sure if anybody has any questions. Oh, sorry. I go too fast. Yeah, that is rather long. So there's actually a couple tabs in here that'll show you, like, if a sample size, how large a sample size do you need, or based on a head-to-head test, what's the significance level of those two tests. So just so people can't read it, it's HTTP www.digiriver.com, HTML emails/Paul/confidence_intervals.xls. And I started DigiRiver 4 years ago. I used this tool then when I first started, and I still use it today. Nice, simple, easy tool to use. Okay, now we're on to questions. Any questions back there?
What tools are you using to split test your HTML page?
We have a number of different tools that we have. Actually, we have a little script that we built internally to split traffic. We also we use direct response or direct track that has ad pool technology as well. That they call it. Boy, it escapes me. Ad pools or optimized rotators that you can use to, let's say you have banners on your site or whatever it might be, you can direct those to different landing pages. So there's some technology there that you can use as well. The other thing that I would suggest that you look into, again, there's, this is, the reality is pretty, for me, and I think most people, fairly easy stuff to get a hang of. There are people out there, again, that are much smarter than me. Like there's guys by the name of Site Tuners that are here. Brad Foyer, that is a very smart guy, and that's all their company does is help optimize landing pages. Those are individuals that you may want to talk to and pick their brains. So another question?
On that last test that you did, on the second variable, on the second challenger, you were changing the price, highlighting price and features. So how do you know which of those increased the conversion?
So we had actually, if I go back, the price wasn't changed. We just promoted it more heavily. So you're right, though. So I mean, the question is, so on a landing page, especially on landing page tests, you could test multiple variables on that landing page, right? But what you need to understand is that, or need to think about or contemplate is it just like a format change, right? Because there's obviously many different variables to a landing page versus a format page and a price test, or a format page and a price test and some other variable like a cross-sell or different types of advertising that you may have. So that's a good question, and the reality is you could say legitimately, well, a landing page test could be testing multiple variables, and that's true. That's true, you can. But in these examples, we focus primarily on just format changes.
Do you ever incorporate more advanced techniques for testing, like eye-tracking studies?
We have not. I know that there are some interesting results that Ann Holland has published in Marketing Sherpa, those heat maps that are very interesting. And you can see that one of the things that we changed in one of our landing pages was we put a lot of the feature benefit and the price point in the upper left-hand corner. And all the heat maps that I've seen, that's where people start, right? And they go over fairly far across to the right on the top, but quickly as you go down, the lower right-hand corner is dead, right? Nobody looks at that. But I have not, but I know there is some good information out there. Way in the back. Hello. Good, Cheryl.
I have a question for you. So on your strategy for brand keywords and wallpaper strategy, how do you prevent or minimize customer confusion?
Well, one of the things that we do is to make sure that in terms of the landing pages, so for example, semantic, all of those landing pages we built microsites for, and we promote, actually Joe, who's sitting back there as well as one of our affiliates, we build specific landing or microsites for those affiliates and ask, in most cases, for our affiliates to do branding so that they, as just like Rosalind mentioned as well, brand your site, brand that, it's whatever marketing or whatever the name of the site is, so that it doesn't, they're not buying from semantic off of those pay-per-click ads. Yeah, exactly. But much better put than I. So, but we're definitely big advocates of that. And one of the benefits that we have, since we do the pay-per-click program as well as the affiliate program, is we can track crossover between the two programs, so we can implement strategies to minimize that. Any other questions?
How do you deal with testing of catalog type sites?
So like a Victoria's Secret or?
Something with a whole bunch of different products that are all marketed throughout the site, and they may end up buying the page that you're originally doing
Right.
at the end of the shopping thing, or maybe you want to change the format throughout the entire site.
Right. Well, that's something that you're going to have to work on with the merchant, right, to see what flexibility they have, obviously, in terms of allowing you from an affiliate standpoint to do that. I will tell you, though, that my history has been across all marketing that I've done is that if you give the consumer too many decisions, they'll choose to do nothing. That has been, I think, a tenet of marketing that I've seen. So, but to answer your question, I guess it really depends on, you have to test that. You have to say, am I going to go to a landing page that may or may not contain links to other categories or types of products? And then or maybe am I going to send someone directly to the cart? Is that the best way to do it, potentially? I don't know. Every instance is going to be different. Every situation is going to be a little bit unique. And that's why at the end of the day, you have to test it and find out what works.
In communication between affiliates and merchants, have you found that there's a way, let's say a merchant doesn't want to change their currency system or some of the other things that you're talking about, where it's detrimental to the affiliate but beneficial potentially for the merchant. Is there a way for an affiliate or an affiliate network to get a merchant to make some of those changes? What would you recommend for an affiliate to say to a merchant to get them to change some of those?
That's a good question. At the end of the day, you can always vote with your feet, right? So there's a different option out there, and in most cases, at least in our industry, in the software industry, there's lots of opportunities to sell other types of software. So that would be, not that you want to drop that threat, but that's at the end of the day what you can do. I think at the end of the day, though, merchants have to look at it as like a partnership. Affiliates are an extension of your sales force, and they can help you make your site better by doing tests, by figuring out what works. I can tell you that I've learned a lot from affiliates doing testing and marketing and figuring out what works and things that have been implemented on the site. But I think at the end of the day, if trying to plead to their, not this sense of, what's best for them overall, I think you have to be prepared to, again, vote with your feet. Any other questions before we wrap up? I think we've got a few minutes left, but.
What kind of volume do you think it takes to achieve statistical significance?
So there's two things, right, that are going to affect that. It's volume and the spread of the difference, right? So if you have, one thing before that. So if you have a limited amount of traffic, the quickest way to get statistical significance is to split it 50-50, right? So half the traffic goes here, half the traffic goes here, and statistically speaking, you can have the smallest spread and the quickest time you can figure out is that a valid test. The problem with that is that with all testing, there's risk, right? So you're taking half your traffic and you're risking that traffic and you don't know what's going to happen because you've never tested it before. So most people, they use 10% of their traffic, 20% of their traffic, et cetera. But the two things that are going to determine that, again, are the amount of actions and then the spread in terms of, let's say, its conversion rate or whatever it might be. So is one conversion rate 2% and the other one 4%? That's a 100% increase. You're not going to need a lot of traffic to say that that's a valid test. Or if it's only like a 2% or a 3% spread, you're going to need a lot of traffic to say, yes, that's a valid test. Any other questions? I know listening to stats and numbers can be rather boring, but I do appreciate it. So if there's no other questions, I think I'll wrap things up. And the other thing I would do is invite everybody to the party tonight at Club Motion. So please come and have a cocktail with us. Thank you.